Welcome back to the squad. Masters of the Universe is now in theaters, something that we have all seen here today. Um, with the success of the Netflix animated show, it was cool to see He-Man and the cast come back to get a live action adaptation. I am your host, Jerome. I have my co-host Ken here with me, but we will be playing a supporting role, let there be no doubt, to two of the bigger Masters of the Universe fans, James and Grinch here. Um, yeah, and we'll be getting into it. James, if you'd like to start us off with your pros and cons and how you are feeling about this iteration of He-Man
Y-
in this cast.
Yeah, I gotta say, pros has to be the this has to be the best sort of big budget $200 million four quadrant movie to put in theaters to,
Hmm.
kind of appease all audiences well rounded. I think that works as a pro and as a con to this movie. A lot of my pros are going to be Skeletor related, which we'll get into during the discussion.
Yep.
Some of my cons are going to be the lack of Battle Cat, the characterization of He-Man himself, and yeah, I think that actually that'll cover it. I'll keep it short and
James,
sweet.
how long have you been following He-Man? How many years?
Oh, I couldn't put an exact number on it, but
Hmm.
it would have been since I was in Chicago, which would have been before I was 11. I just remember getting the books with the gold
Hmm.
spine on them and the action
That's
figures.
awesome.
And then the TV show, I actually came into after reading the books and having the toys, and
Hmm.
I saw it during the block on. I don't remember if it was Cartoon Network or one of the other channels, but it'd be like Johnny Quest, Scooby Doo, Masters
Yeah.
of the Universe, and a
Yep,
couple other.
definitely Cartoon Network. Definitely.
Yeah. I don't believe it was a Hanna-Barbera cartoon. I could be wrong on that. I don't think it
Hmm.
was,
Nah,
but it was
nah,
in
it
that
was.
grouping. I just remember
Yeah.
all of them. So. Yeah, that's my pros and cons in a quick little rundown for it on my
That's
end.
awesome. Yeah. Grinch, let's pass it on over to you. How did you feel about Masters of the Universe?
So the quick story is when they announced it, I don't know, a year ago, 2 years ago, whenever they announced it, I was like, let's not do this again. The 80s one, I mean, I'm probably the elder statesman here as far as years, on this earth going. But at the 80s one, I was probably, I don't know the exact year. I was probably 6 or 7 when that came out, maybe 8, 9 when that came out. And I'm prime Masters of the Universe as a kid, so when that came out, it was such a letdown. And so,
Hmm.
going all these years later, when they announced it again, I'm like, I mean, you don't need to do this. We're fine. The animation, the Kevin
We're
Smith
fine.
animation is
Yes.
good.
Yes.
It's fine. The Kevin Smith animation is working perfectly. We don't need to do this.
Hmm.
And then that trailer, that teaser dropped, and I said, "Oh, okay, we got something here.
Okay.
We got something." And I watched the teaser and then the trailer. And I'm like, all right,
Hmm.
I don't know if it's going to be good, but it looks like it should look. Everybody looks exactly, for the most part, how they looked in the cartoon. Very hard
Yeah.
thing to pull off.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like you asked James, how long have I been in a Masters of the
Yes.
universe? I mean, like I said, I'm the elder statesman here. So the toys came out in the 80s. I had the toys. I
Hmm.
was 4, 5, 6, something like that.
Oh, it's awesome.
So seeing Beastman, Man at Arms, Mechaneck, Trapjaw, I was
Yeah.
a very fortunate kid that I had damn near every toy that was in the movie that they showed. So I was like,
Oh, it's
man,
awesome.
that looks just like what I had. That's exactly what I had. That's exactly what I remember. So my
Yeah.
pros, getting into what we're supposed to be doing here. My
Yeah.
pros, the look of everyone, spot on. 10 out of 10
Yeah.
for how everyone looked. Perfect. Cons, it's very light on story. The story is all over the place. It's not
Hmm.
my favorite. So that's my spiel. I love the characters and how they look. The story wasn't my
Hmm.
favorite. Like James said, Skeletor, awesome. So
Yeah.
that's my where I'm at with it.
Yeah. And then for me too, I think, someone that was aware of He-Man as a kid and knows a little bit like of Battle Cat, but definitely not the supporting squad. The thing that I really got to enjoy also as someone that hasn't broken into the Netflix show at all, even though I know that that is highly touted by the community. Um, I was very surprised at like the level of creativity they had with. I felt like the supporting cast on both Skeletor side and He-Man side, and the creativity of the different characters, I thought was really cool. Um, Even through like the bogged down jokes that we can definitely get more into as we get further into the podcast. Um, there's a two couple standout things. Definitely Skeletor when he was on screen, I thought was a great aspect of it, and then the action as well. I thought was done really well. So that's kind of a little bit from me. Ken, how are you feeling about Masters of the Universe?
Yeah, so I had a He-Man toy way back in the day, but I never got
Hmm.
too deep into the franchise. I never collected the entire toy line like I did for, some DC franchises, Marvel. But I did
Hmm.
watch the Netflix show, season one and season two. So that's
Okay.
about my Masters of the Universe knowledge. But for me going in, I mean, I had a good time. I was entertained. I actually
Yeah.
enjoyed this movie much, much more than Mortal Kombat. I felt like you actually had legit performances in this movie. Of course, we've all spoken on Skeletor, but
Yeah.
also Man at Arms. So for me, like whenever, not
Idris.
necessarily if the movie would lose me, but when I
Yeah.
started to kind of lean back in my seat and kind of start to think about picking up my phone, like Skeletor had a great scene, then
Yeah.
Man at Arms would have a great scene, and those performances would always keep me like plugged in. So
Yes.
I mean, I had like a decent time, and then the not just the soundtrack, but the score. I really like the score. Of course, like when He-Man transforms the first time, and then when he has some of his action scenes, the soundtrack and the score like really um elevate like a lot of what makes the 80s special. And while for me that was a positive, I could actually see that being a negative and not allowing the movie and like the IP as a whole to evolve. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
had a good time.
Yeah, I think what we can see a lot of the time is some movies, for whatever reason, don't make use of the enhanced sound system, but that was not the case for Master of the Universe. When they wanted to pop off with their sounds and the soundtracks, I think they did a really good job of bringing like making me aware of it and adding on to what was happening on screen. Um, Now we've all talked about Skeletor now, so let's dive into a little bit more with, how we're feeling about Jared Leto's performances is something that blew us all away. James, if you'd like to start us off.
Yeah, I have to say Skeletor inherently is just a silly villain. If you look at his
Yeah,
characterization from the
Oh,
original show,
Good, because you were a wimp scientist and you could be a wimp villain. It's the sorceress, you boob. They should call you Wimplash. Quiet, or I'll turn you into a suitcase. Just as I suspected. Hollow, you metal-munching moron. Why do I surround myself with fools? Even the robots are smarter than you.
even some of the clips from the more recent Netflix show,
hmm,
he's known for his jokes and his witty comebacks and whatnot. So the way that they were able to translate that onto into live action, and a lot of that was Jared
yeah,
Leto actually in the suit doing the performance along with the voice. I thought it was just incredible because this is something that's just as hokey and cartoony as something like Cobra Commander in the G.I.
yeah,
Joe.
yep.
If you've noticed, they for the other two G.I. Joe movies, they try to steer away from Cobra Commander isms, whereas I
yeah,
feel this movie really embraced everything and it completely worked, in my opinion, on this. He was incredible from the dream sequences to the him doing the I have the power
yeah,
line when he gets the sword and then goes into the comedic bit where like nothing's happening and he's like, what the hell? Um
yeah,
it was just it was incredible to me. And another, I know we'll speak on Skeletor's performances with you guys, but another thing that I really enjoyed that the script did is that it also made him menacing as well, not just a cartoon or a meme.
yeah,
So
Yeah.
he has that line when he and Evelyn like land at Castle Grayskull to go see the sorceress, where he's like, "Kill them all, women and children first." I thought that was
yeah,
such a funny line, but then that kind of represents some of the other actions that he has in the movie, where he actually is his henchmen are killing the villagers. and the townspeople, like when they were all escaping in the cave. And also, other characters actually get killed. Like
Boss man.
there's a sense of stakes. You
Yeah.
can only get so much
Yeah.
in a movie like this, but you actually feel it with this Skeletor, in addition to making him as true to form with what the character represents.
Yeah, I think
I just
they
wanted to
really
point that
tried to
out.
yeah, they really tried to play both sides of it when it came to the different characters on like their campiness side, and then try to entertain us with like a little bit of a more serious scenes with them. And it really felt like Skeletor was the only one that really worked out the majority of the time in both aspects. Grinch, if you'd like to touch on a little bit more about him.
So so I said, one of my cons was the script, and what
Hmm.
I felt with that was they to me personally, they didn't nail it as far as the campiness, because like when the movie starts, great action scene between uh between Trapjaw and Man at Arms. Great action scene.
Hmm.
It starts
Yeah.
off, so I'm thinking, okay, this is gonna be a kind of maybe not darker, but a more serious in tone action type of movie. And
Yeah.
then you get later on and you get, the stuff with Fisto and Ram Man, and you get the jokes, and those to me came out of nowhere, because up until that point, I mean, Adam was goofy or whatever, but there was no like other
Yeah.
comedy. And they just start, oh, well, you fist people. Well, let's go fist. And then it's like,
Yeah.
what? And then like
Yes.
Skeletor, his first opening scenes, super menacing, super dark, super heavy. And then he breaks into the thing of, he's like, you know what I mean? And he's standing there and he's like, you guys are supposed to leave now. I did the thing. And I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, what? Like, what are
The
we doing? Like,
crescendo.
That's it. I finished.
Of course, my lord.
When I raise my fist like that, I'm done.
Yes.
That is the crescendo.
We'll know for the future, my lord.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like, what are we
Crescendo.
doing?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't
Hmm.
get it, because it just, to me, it came out of left field. So, because I know in the cartoon, yes, he's campy. It's an '80s show. It's very campy. It's for kids. But to
Yeah.
me, they went too heavy in a serious kind of tone with everything that was going on. And then Skeletor was actually the first one that broke out with the crescendo. And I'm like, huh? I'm like, I don't get
Yeah.
it. Like, what are we doing here? And it kind of steamrolled for that. Like something would happen, and then it would just be a joke that didn't land for me, even though Skeletor
Yeah.
was great. But then after like the second or third time, then I was like, okay, got it. We're not doing serious. We're doing campy. Okay, this
Yeah.
is what it's gonna be. Cool. I got it now. And at that point for me, it was too late. I'm like, they should have just went either go all the way into the camp, or
Hmm.
keep it kind of serious in tone. Don't It's very hard to straddle that line and do both, especially
Yeah.
with this kind of material. Even though, I mean, it's Masters of the Universe, you can't take it too seriously.
Yeah, I
You
was
know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's a dude in a fur thong running around, like, you know what I mean? How serious can you really take it? But it was just like the tone of it wasn't landing for me. So, and another thing that was quite weird was the scene where he grabs Evil Lynn, who I can't stand Evil Lynn in the movie, by the way. She was terrible to me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
agreed.
he grabs her arm, and her arm start burning, and he's like, and he grabs her arm, he kind of gives her a little essay, and then she like
Yeah.
looks at him like, oh my God. Like she kind of like she
Yeah.
was kind of
That
turned
was
on by
weird.
it. And I'm
I
like,
do
yo,
agree.
I'm like,
Okay.
whoa. What, like, yo, what
Yeah.
are we doing? Like that that never happened in the
That was
cartoon, but
awkward.
it's a cartoon. But I was like, that's pretty weird.
Well,
So
you
it
have
Yeah.
was
to.
just those moments
Yeah,
that kind of took it away.
I was gonna say you have to be a little twisted to be following someone like Skeletor,
True,
because I think
true.
it's twice in the movie that kind of happens where he
Hmm.
kind of has
Hmm.
his way with her, and
Yeah,
Berates her.
she has that
yeah,
backhanded smile, like, oh, like she likes it. But then at the very end, before the final fight, she has that
right.
moment where she rolls her eyes at him
Yeah.
when he does something, the same kind of crap he's been doing the whole movie. So in my
Yeah.
head, I'm wondering where were they, to your point, Grinch, where were they trying to go with the
With the way they were
characterization
interacting.
when they're
Yeah.
trying to be funny and campy, or are they trying to be serious? Because I personally would have liked a more serious tone. But like you had said, this comes from, an 80s cartoon for children that if they did the more serious route, it would be something probably more akin to something how that Power Rangers 2016 movie was, or that 2017 movie, where they tried to be a little too serious, I feel, and then
Hmm.
they give you everything at the end of like what us as fans were looking for in that movie. I actually really like that movie, but I don't think that would have worked. I think as a business head, even though this movie isn't doing gangbusters for business, they wanted to kind of
Yeah.
hit that four quadrant movie.
Yeah. Um, I think on my side with Skeletor, like Leto's performance, I think was super charismatic in the sense that kind of like the rest of the movie in a way, you're not gonna all of the lines that he has, there's gonna be things there that are weird. Like we have weird
Yeah,
interactions, and
yeah,
the way he says things. But I believed that he delivered that genuinely every single time. Whereas like a lot of
yeah,
Adam's stuff very early on and throughout before he called down on the power for the first time was horrible to sit through. Like it was very tough and very much rolling my eyes. But even if I would roll my eyes at Skeletor, I'd still giggle a little bit because I felt like he was delivering them faithfully as the character. Um, and I really
great
appreciated
point.
that they gave it not only to Leto, but then when they gave him action scenes, especially at the very end, man, he was moving and the special effects they had on him and the even the way that they did his eyes, so there's that little glare of red around them
Yeah,
and like his bone structure, I thought was incredible. So that was one of the great things about this that really was able to bring me back in every time, like Ken had said, that I'm sitting there ready to like pull the plug and move on with my life. Was yeah, several different Skeletor scenes. What about you, Ken?
Yeah, so it's gonna be hard for me to add anything new to this, but two things to add though. I liked so of course like Leto's performance, everybody spoke on that, but I liked how in
Hmm.
the climax, Skeletor gets to basically just own his nature, his evil nature. I think we've
yeah,
gotten way too many misunderstood villains. No, I represent evil. I represent pure
Yeah.
evil.
hmm,
That is what I
yep.
am. I cannot be
Anything else?
corrupted the other way. Like this is,
Yes.
I am
You
truth
cannot
to
bring me
what I
to
am.
the
I'm what
light.
yeah, yeah. And second thing, again, like of course, Skeletor is a Saturday morning cartoon.
Listen, I am not nice, I am not kind, and I am not wonderful.
That is what he is like, and that works like in 20-minute specials. But like for this, he had that too, but also every single setup for He-Man was a trap. Like you don't get to his position of power like by just being again an idiot Saturday morning cartoon. Like he trapped He-Man,
Yeah.
like he kept He-Man's family alive. Obviously, in the dungeon, they were not treated well. He's still evil, but then, like
Yeah.
he brought them. He got He Man to come to set the trap for him. He set it up for He Man to kill his own father. I mean, like Skeletor was on point. I mean, but when you're going against essentially someone with the power of the universe, like, yeah, I mean, like, sheesh. At some point, that stuff does matter, so that's why he lost. But other than that, again, like the camp didn't bother me. I will say though, the even though He Man wasn't campy, he was inherently silly with the HR aspect of it. So that
Yeah.
bothered
Yeah,
me way more than any of the other characters in Eternia because that's like a
Yeah.
different universal space. I'm somewhat okay with that. But again, like I feel like with He-Man, you got to be very careful doing that. Again, like we all should feel like we'll follow this dude into war. Like no
Yeah.
question. I never I never really got that, but yeah, those are my thoughts on everything.
Yeah, and I think that brings up a good point too. If we want to get into a little bit about He-Man's performance, is that I would be lying if I didn't say when he calls down for the power the first time, there was a little change in my affect towards him, and he got a little bit of respect out of me when he popped into his fur thong like Grinch and wielding that sword and his like once again like he got some very good action scenes spread throughout in the choreography and the special effects that were done for him. But that kind of leads to my question to you over to you, James. How did you feel about He-Man and his portrayal specifically?
Wait, Jerome,
Oh,
hold on, just to respond to
oh,
something
Yeah, go ahead,
quickly that
Ken.
you said.
Yeah.
Because to that point, He-Man's action scenes were very well done. And his name is He-Man, He-Man. So I think like if you depict him the right way physically, there's only
Yeah.
so low of a ceiling that like you can go with a character like that. So I still think that the character performed really well, did a real, was
Hmm.
depicted the right way.
Yeah.
But outside of the action scenes, we do have
Yep.
to also grade you on that stuff too. But RJ, it's
Yeah.
after you.
He had zero respect from anybody.
Your only wisdom,
It's
your only wisdom cannot be HR training. Like that's
yeah,
that's not going to work. But
and a job
RJ.
you're about to get fired from.
Yeah.
Well, okay, no. To their defense, though, he was
Uh,
only going to get fired because he wasn't committed to the position. But she
yes.
said he was very natural, and
Yeah. A lot of men be looking up some weird stuff in their office spaces. He's just looking up swords. What you
That's
got for us,
funny.
Jim?
For me, it's hard because yes, I grew up with the He-Man that I envisioned from what I've watched as a kid and how
Hmm.
I've grown up with him is like once he calls upon the sword, he has, all the wisdom in addition to all the strength. And
Yeah.
I never really felt that. Well, no, I didn't feel that at all from him. As
Okay.
really as dope as it was when he transformed, a lot of the Earth stuff was a little too hokey for me, and
Yeah.
then to go into some of the Eternia stuff after that useless chase that they did in the beginning of the second act or the end of the first act of the movie
With
in the
Beastman?
forest. No, whatever the
Oh
one with
no, no,
the
no. When they're
forest
when they're riding the speeders from Star
flying,
Wars, yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
like
the cycles or whatever.
that whole action scene was just by the numbers, bland. I think that was the worst part of the entire movie. In addition, and this is me even taking
Okay.
all the comedy I didn't laugh at, but getting back to He-Man, at
We
the
got
end of
lost in
that
the
scene,
forest from Attack on Titan. Sorry.
yeah, at the end of that scene, he has like a little temper tantrum, like, oh, they have my dad or whatever after Skeletor, which cool callback to a shitty movie when Skeletor blasts his email to the all of
Hmm.
Eternia.
Evelyn, activate the holosphere. People of Eternia, the war is over. My forces are victorious. The sorceress of Grayskull is my prisoner, and her powers are now joined with mine. Let this be my first decree. Those who do not pledge themselves to me shall be destroyed. The new age begins.
Being like,
Yeah.
hey, by the way, I got your dad and your mom. They're in my dungeon. There was a scene like that in the old one that's one of the only few things I remember from that movie,
Hmm.
the original Masters of the Universe. But He-Man, or I guess he's He-Man because he's transformed, but he has like this little temper tantrum of like, we're gonna go to Snake Mountain. I don't care. I'm going. You're either with me or not. And it's like,
Yeah.
dude, like, what are we doing? Like, I get that if he was still in the pink shirt, right? But this man's already transformed. And that just is like a little taste of what bothered me for like 75% of this movie whenever we were on
Yeah.
He and Prince Adam.
Instead of like a legit respectful way to bring them together
Yeah,
as
well,
He-Man, he's still Adam.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I will say that when I actually felt it was when he transforms at the end, the second transformation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
argue that it's because
Yeah.
maybe now he gets that kick in the butt from the sorceress of like, now this is who this is who you're supposed to be, because that to me is when He-Man actually shows up in the movie, when he comes in
Yeah.
and when he that's when he tells Skeletor, hey, let's talk. And then that's the only time where I'm like, oh, okay, now this is something like legit He-Man would say, because now he's got, you feel like he's got the knowledge and whatnot. But that was my biggest glaring issue. I'm sure, all of you young men will point out all the rest that I'm thinking as well.
Just to
Yeah.
add
What
some,
about you,
just to
Grinch? How do
add,
you feel? Go
well,
ahead,
just
Ken.
to add something to that too. That's a great point, and, like, we've had these conversations before, but I think, after, He-Man died and then he came back from the dead, that's a really cool, character point for him, which that's when he was different because, of course, he has, like, his character arc about masculinity, power, all that stuff. He gets it
Hmm.
from Man-at-Arms, then he gets a piece of it from Skeletor, but I always still
Yeah.
felt like both of those characters were mightier than him, even when he was transformed. Yes, he was
Yeah.
still, powerful, but to James's point, when he comes back after, being on the other sides, like, to, the afterlife, that's when it
Yeah.
seemed like he was even mightier than Skeletor. Even though Skeletor had the best acting, best writing, coolest character, he still seemed mightier than
He popped off in
Skeletor
that scene.
in those. Yeah, yeah. And but like to James's point, not even just when he,
Yeah.
gave him 222 body blows. I mean, just like when he walks down the steps and just kind of breaks down what's not working with his approach and everything. It was
Mhm.
really well done. That part.
Yeah. Grinch, how about you? What do you have to add about He-Man's performance?
His performance it was good. It was as and I'm not even thinking of the actor, but the character, the
Yeah.
performance was good. But can I just go to a couple plot holes that annoyed me that had
Sure.
to do with him? It's like,
Yeah.
okay, he's the chosen one, like, in every hero type movie, he's the chosen one, Jesus resurrected, whatever we would call him, right? He's the guy. So you
Yes.
would think that, okay, if he's the guy, he grabs the sword, the signal goes out to Eternia, T the Beastman, everybody's like, oh shit, the sword's found. The chosen one has found the sword, right? She goes to help him. How is she the only one who knows who he is when they get back to Eternia? You know what I mean? And that goes with the point of
Hmm.
he's supposed to be He-Man, like Ken said. We're supposed to be following this guy into battle. Nobody knows who you are, bro. Like, he has the sword. If he comes in with the sword on his back, me being me, oh, that's the dude. Oh, let's go. We got this. Everybody's
Yeah.
like, who is this guy? Who's this bozo? Like,
And it gets
and
worse.
she's
And
like,
it gets worse from
yeah,
there.
yeah. And she's like, here's a sword. And they're like, he has a sword. Who's he? Like, bro, he has the sword. Which goes to
Yeah.
another thing, sorceress. If sorceress is behind all this as well, what are you
Hmm.
doing for 15 years? Are you helping the people? Are you spreading the gospel, so to speak? Are you telling them,
Building the
hey,
nest.
right? Like, what are you
That's
doing? You're
funny.
supposed to be telling the people, hey, don't worry, the sword is
Hmm.
coming. When the sword gets here, the chosen one will help us return and turn it back to like
Yeah.
peace. We'll
Spread
be
the
okay.
word. Spread the
Well,
word.
Nobody
Spread the
knows anything about
gospel.
who he is.
he's
Hold
It's
some
like,
protecting
bro,
Vincent
sermons.
Grayskull.
yeah, that's like,
You gotta mop
it's
the
like,
floors. And
what, like, that was a major point. I'm like, this makes no sense.
Hmm.
Like, how did they nobody know who this guy is? Why did nobody?
Yeah.
Why was she not? If she's and why was she not fighting against like Skeletor to help out Eternia? Like,
Hmm.
she's just a figment of his imagination for everything else. Like, because nobody
Yeah.
knows where she is, nobody knows what she's doing, nobody's seen her for 15 years, and then she comes back at the very end. It's like that makes no sense for a plot point. Get off my
Yep.
soapbox for that. He-Man overall, as the character himself, he was really good. The only thing I had issue with was the first time he transforms. Once he's He-Man, he's He-Man. He's all knowledge, all powerful. So
Yep.
he should make easy work of Trapjaw. It should be easy work, but I understand. Yeah, we have to have the whole, I'll call it the Shazam moment where he gets his powers for the first time. And he's like, dude, I can fight. Did you see
Yeah.
that? Like, okay, cool. I guess we have to have that moment, but it's like, no, like, you already know what to do. As Adam, you don't
Yes.
know nothing, which I get.
Yes.
You're not, that's not your bag. But when you
Once
grab that
again, you can
sword and you
have,
power on, hmm
yeah, I was say you can have a realization with respect and not goofy.
yeah,
You don't have
yeah,
to look goofy
and
while you're doing it.
yeah, and it takes you out of that fight because it's like he's supposed to be all knowing, all powerful, and then he's just like, oh, he doesn't. How's he gonna win?
Yeah.
So it's like that's kind of like messed up. But the character itself, he's fine. It's totally fine.
Hmm.
Um, he did his thing uh as He-Man, especially like you guys said at the very end when he comes back from the dead, and then I have the power, the sword comes back together.
Yeah.
It's like that's He-Man. Like
Yes, his
now,
dialogue to
now we're
Skeletor,
in
and
it.
then he's
Sword
like, "All right, you
down.
want to go?"
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Overall, as the He-Man the character though, like
Hmm.
he did a good job. Oh, and
Yeah.
the other part that I loved was
Hmm.
the cameo by Dolph Lundgren. That was
Yeah.
I was in
Yeah.
a theater where like nobody knew what was happening, and
Yeah,
like
Yeah.
he's in there. I'm like,
We
oh
didn't freeze
shit!
you.
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh shit! They got Dolph in here, and then like he
Hmm.
gives him the little spiel and everything. I was like, man, that was so cool for them to do that.
Hmm.
That warmed my little heart a little bit. I was like, that was dope.
Yeah. A small scene for me that I kind of appreciated the more we spent time in there, because I think from like a psychological perspective for He-Man, he is an immigrant that holds Eternia to such high regard. So I could kind of see why he held on to the child side of him when it came to his interpretation of like Mechanic, and all the other characters that he looked up to as heroes as a
Hmm.
kid. Um, and
It's a
I
great point.
really appreciated, a great, very small scene was the effort that it took into, I don't know if it's all concept art or whatever, but all the drawings of the swords and the characters that were spread around his room. I really liked that. I thought that was really cool. And aided to his character. It's just you wish you could the that side of the power in terms of the maturity and stuff would come along a little bit earlier and in more
Yep.
scenes to really build that respect for the audience. But yeah, from like a
Yep.
child perspective, like man, dude, how many times did he draw that sword? Because that's one of the things I drew as a kid all the time was different kinds of swords and stuff like that, lightsabers and whatnot. So I really liked seeing that spread just all around his room. You know?
And it's such a good idea too, like that he creates in his head his own head canon for what Eternia is. Like,
Hmm.
and that's how all the fans have done it with Master of the Universe action
Yeah.
figures, all these other cool action figures, DC, Marvel. Like
Yep,
you
yep.
create the canon with the toys, and that's really cool. But to your point, we hope that you kind of get some more wisdom and start knowing a little bit more, a little bit earlier before you have to literally die.
Yeah.
Yes. Um, yeah. So I think yeah, with those two being the big plot points, the big aspects of this movie, it was really interesting to see that we got four like different post credit scenes with this. How do you guys feel about that? Because I know a lot of people in our theater popped off, for each of them, but did it feel like it was something substantial to you? Did you appreciate it? Did you kind of think it was a little bit too on the nose? How did you guys feel about that, James?
They
uh,
needed that. Oh, my
I
bad.
really, yeah, I really liked. Orko would have been very expensive, and for whatever reason, they decided to waste all their CGI budget on that useless chase scene in the forest, Roboto, instead of
Back to
giving
the
Cringer more freaking time.
Roboto.
To
Yeah,
me,
yeah,
I like Roboto. He's cool. Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah.
In this one, it's a she. Whatever. That I didn't mind that. I just wanted
Hmm.
more He-Man, Cringer slash Battle Cat. That because to me that's sort
Yeah.
of Man at Arms.
Battle Cat was. I felt like Battle Cat was a big part of He Man in my
Yeah.
limited awareness of him as a kid. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wish they used more of that. But anyway, the point being, and then you throw Orko into that. I've never been the biggest fan of Orko. In fact, I was happy when he died in the Netflix show. I know,
Oh
I'm sorry,
man,
sacrilegious.
man.
He reminds me of that he always reminded me of that dumb mutt from the Black Cauldron. It's an old Disney movie. But
Hmm.
that's like a
Oh,
stupid
good
dog
callback.
that's like your comedic relief. And I think they kill him too in that one.
Oh, poor miserable Gurgi deserves fierce smackings and whackings on his poor tender head. I was left with no munchings and crunching.
And then they bring him back. But it doesn't matter. Point being, Orko I thought was done as well as you could. And I liked how he comes in and does the little spiel at the end, like, "Hey guys, that's
Lesson
what
of the
we
day.
need." Yeah,
Yeah.
I really dug that callback. The Adora Shira one, I felt it was cool for me to see. I enjoyed watching that. I was like, oh, dude, like, I hope this movie makes 400 million in its first months because I would love to see He-Man and She-Ra kind of like just teaming up. But the critic slash kind of story person in my head is like,
Yeah.
I feel we could have introduced the twin sister in a different way. This was kind of just thrown in there like, half the Marvel after credit scenes where you throw them in. It's like the Charlize Theron scene from Doctor Strange
Hmm.
2, right? Like
Yeah,
we're never gonna see her again.
yeah,
And I'm like, man, as much as I love seeing She-Ra represented on the big screen, I feel you didn't need that.
Yeah.
And at the very last one, I feel was just typical, like, next time, Skeletor will be back sort of deal. And
Yeah.
that was fine to me. That was, that made more sense.
there was another one.
First time someone told about going to see it early and having
Censored.
4 post credit scenes. It was like, what the hell? So yeah, there's quite a few of them.
Yeah, the
Um,
Orko one I loved because like halfway through the movie, I'm like, "Yo, where's Orko?" I'm like, "He's not gonna be in it," but I'm like, "Come on, we got it." I was like, "He should be kicking it with Sorceress or something." Like, I was like,
mhm.
"Where's Orko?" And then at the very end, I almost it wasn't a small theater, but there's not a lot of people in there, and I wanted to jump up like, "Yeah!" But I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna keep it cool." But yeah,
Yeah.
to see Orko and give the vaunted 80s lesson of the day. I was like, oh, this is great. Like this
Yeah.
is
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly what they needed. So that was
Hmm.
dope for me. And the She-Ra one, like James said, I hope it makes, 200, $300 million just so we could get a sequel, even though it's not going to. But
Yeah.
I was like, they did that part. I'm like, okay, they're planning something good. It's not gonna make it, but at least
Hmm.
they threw that nugget in there. They had a hope and a plan of doing it. So I'm like, kudos to them for at least doing it because they could have rested on it, be like, you know what, we're just gonna keep it regular, give you the Orko scene and the Skeletor scene because we know he's not gonna die. He'll be back in the sequel and just keep it
Yeah.
at that. But at least they brought the world, they brought in the world and opened the world up to be like, okay, if we get this sequel, this is where we're gonna go.
Real quick, Grinch. Who would you
Yeah.
want them to see cast as She-Ra?
It was
Jesus.
like a
Why
CGI
and why
female,
isn't
right?
it?
Whenever they had She-Ra in that post credit scene, she was like CGI, wasn't she?
No, it was a
No,
model.
no,
It's
it's actual actors.
It was
they have
okay.
it'll be an actress if they do it again. But I just wondered
Yeah.
why it wouldn't be Sydney Sweeney.
Gosh. I knew you were gonna say it. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. Gosh. I know that'll be a whole different type of She-Ra. I was like, if they could get Bryce Dallas Howard to do it,
Oh,
I
oh,
mean,
yeah.
I'm sure I just killed her name, but if they could get her to do it, I mean, She-Ra never looked like that, but I'm here for it.
Yeah, hey.
Many reasons why it could be her. Different
So
angles.
yeah, I mean, if Gal Gadot could act, I would say Gal Gadot, but I mean,
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they would have to be correct me if I'm wrong, the fact checker somewhere here in this universe.
I'll find it.
I think Adora is a twin sister of Prince Adam, but I could be wrong. I thought they were supposed to be at the same age. I'm sure there'll be
Yeah.
something
Get it.
here. But anyway,
I thought she
sorry.
was a cousin, but who knows? I don't really. I didn't follow She-Ra like that. I thought they were cousins, but I'm not. I'm not even sure.
Yeah.
I would have to go with the She-Ra post-credit scene too, because there's a lot of messy ownership with DreamWorks and
Uh,
Mattel. So whenever co-ownership can be resolved, we as a society progress. So I'll go with She-Ra.
She-Ra's always been a big part of Masters of the Universe and the lore. She's special to me. She's special to people that I care about. And, I would love to see her story on the big screen. In the end, none of these things are up to me. I approach these things as if we get one chance to make these movies, to tell these stories. And we left everything on the field. We gave it everything we had. And if that's the only chance we get to tell these stories, then I'm proud of what we did. But, if people demand more, I would love for us to be able to tell more. And she would be a huge part of that.
Yeah. So bringing all that together, what are we feeling like our final scores? I think for me, because there was such the intermittent appreciation and energy that like the Skeletor scenes brought me, and then it ends on such a high note. Even if like the majority of the movie for myself was very hard to sit through, thankfully, yeah, they brought us together for that last action scene for He-Man's last dialogue. Like I said, the little bit with the drawings and stuff really touched me personally. I'd probably err on the right around a 7.6 in the good range with a couple great points with Skeletor in the ending scene, but a lot of it was bogged down by the campiness and what they kind of did with Adam throughout the beginning of the show. What about you, James?
I'm gonna have to say, this as I started my opening review,
Mm-hmm.
it's the best sort of family friendly, attracts all sorts of audiences sort of movie that they were going for with this. I personally would have preferred something a little more serious, but this is the movie that we got. And like we had in
Mm-hmm.
this entire discussion, there's a lot of really good things about it. There's just a lot of things I think that they fumbled on. That
Yeah.
being said, I'd probably still say, as far as a Masters of the Universe movie, this hits enough for me to be about in the 85% range. So I want to say an 8.5, even though I wish
Mm-hmm.
I could give this movie a 9 or a 10 out of 10. It
Yeah.
just isn't quite there for
The
me. And I
nostalgia
can't
pulling you.
give
Yeah.
you like an 8.9 because I don't think it quite
Yeah, it gets up
gets up to where
to
it could be. There's still work to be done.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm,
Yeah.
I'm going to settle at the 8.5.
What about you, Grinch?
Well, well. So, like I started with the characters, 10 out of 10. All of them. Every single one nailed
Mm-hmm.
it. Perfect. And then you got to get to the story and the parts of the story. Uh, really quickly, I'll get to that, but we didn't give enough love to Idris as Man at Arms. He was dope. He's
He
probably the only
was.
Yeah.
person in this movie that had a complete character arc going from hero to drunk and then, sprinkling in some game, gave Adam some game, and then redeemed
Yeah.
himself. So he had a complete character arc. So that was a dope moment. But back to what we're here
Mm-hmm.
to do.
Sure.
The characters themselves were a 10. The story was like a three overall. I want to say, and truthfully, this is the first movie I got up and walked out because I had to use the bathroom, and I don't do that. But I was like, you know what? In the forest scene,
Yep.
right after he gave the talk to Adam, I was like, this is a good time for me to get up because I don't think anything's going to happen.
To James's point.
And
Yep.
so I had to get up, and I never do that. So 5.75.
I feel that.
I give it I
What's
give
up,
it a
Ken?
7. Like I was
Mm-hmm.
thoroughly entertained. I really like again the soundtrack, the score. When you
Yeah.
deliver a very, very good villain, I'm always going to be entertained. I thought the action was good. Again, Man at Arms was great. So overall, I had a good time. As Grinch said, I mean the plot, the story is a bit thin. And something else I'll add to my own words. Yeah, I thought it got a little bit too silly at times, and it kind of took me out of it a little bit. Not even like I said, just like characters being over the top. But again,
Yeah.
He-Man himself, just with the HR stuff, got a little too silly for me. So yeah,
Yeah.
7 for me.
Yeah. And I think to wrap this up, like, shout outs to all the other fans of Masters of the Universe out
Jerome,
there.
Jerome, let
Like,
me ask you this,
yeah, go ahead.
not to
What's up?
break your train of thought. Let me ask you this.
No problem.
So the He-Man that you saw in Masters of the Universe,
Yeah.
I know Captain America. I know that's your guy. That's one of your all-time favorite characters. Could He-Man lift Thor's hammer?
I do feel like you add in the finality of the respect that he had in the way he speaks once he speaks to Sorceress in his vision, and how he comes out talking to Skeletor afterwards. Once again, not pursuing domination over him, but extending that hand, I think shows like a level of worthiness that would be very comparable to Mjolnir and Thor's hammer. So I do feel like he's capable of wielding it.
Okay. Okay. And it's something that you feel that he eventually became worthy in the movie as opposed to starting worthy.
Yeah, because I mean, even when he first called down on the sword, right? It was alerted, but he didn't get that power yet. When he was on the freeway. So I feel like there's a maturity there that he had to bring upon, and maybe like we talk about
A
Goku's
death.
speech with Gohan, right? That has to come in response to a need. And once he had, the remnants of Eternia burning in the little underground village that they were at, in the roots of those big trees, like there was a need that was called there that he was finally able to draw the power from, and finally be introduced to what it's like to be worthy within that universe. So yeah, I do feel like that.
I think he could. I think he could.
Yeah, and
But
obviously,
yeah.
like through a cookie
Mhm.
cutter Saturday morning cartoon, thin script, they really, I think, hit you over the head with it that he's very gentle, would like to talk it out before, he has to stomp you out. Like not
Yeah.
even countless times, every single time before, he's, hey guys, can we just talk about this? Like even with Skeletor, like that's why
Yeah.
Skeletor was like, you gotta, no, you're insulting me now. But like, so to your
That's
point,
true.
Yeah.
so I mean, yeah, and even when he dominated, he still put the sword down, which you can imagine he could have done more with the sword. So yeah,
Yeah.
he's very, very gentle.
But yeah, Master of the Universe fans, get out there, support your IP. Skeletor will carry you throughout the movie, and it ends. And I think in an area that we all agree on is a great back and forth exchange, both verbally and in terms of the action scene at the end of Masters of the Universe. We appreciate you. Please consider liking and subscribing to the video if you've gotten this far. Leave a comment down below with how much you enjoyed Skeletor, how much you care for He-Man and your history with him, and we will catch you guys in the next one. Thank you.
I'll be back.